Alright, today we have Remaking My NBA GOAT Pyramid by I can't even talk. By JxmyHighroller. I'm not editing none of that. We don't edit anything over here except for the intro. Roll it.
Yippee!
Shout out to JxmyHighroller. Make sure y'all go subscribe to him.
About 3 years ago, I released my GOAT Pyramid, featuring 30 of what I believe to be the greatest NBA players of all time. And it's okay, but it could use some work. So today, we're going to be updating the NBA GOAT Pyramid. Today's video is brought to you by SeatGeek. A new NBA season is upon us. Just look at it. Ain't it beautiful? And with the season underway, SeatGeek is here to get us back in on the action. Check this out.
We ain't sponsored though, man. Shout out to your sponsor.
A few weeks ago, Shaq shared this basketball GOAT pyramid on Instagram. And I only know this because people were tagging me in the comments thinking it was mine. But it's not. The dead giveaway was LeBron being on tier 3. Also, current day Steph on tier 4 was a massive red flag. And a pretty solid player by the name of Hakeem Olajuwon was nowhere to be found on this pyramid at all. So, as cool as it would be to have Shaq share some content from the channel, this NBA GOAT pyramid is from someone else. But it did get me thinking. With all of the events that have taken place over the last 4 NBA seasons, I think it's time we update our GOAT pyramid. So here's the pyramid I made 3 years ago, May 23rd, 2019 to be exact. Which means since this video was released, 4 new teams have been crowned champions, 4 MVPs have been awarded, and there has been 3.5 seasons worth of NBA context to consider for our new pyramid. Now I want to keep this new pyramid at 30 players like our original one.
Peak, how good a player was given, I cannot read, when they were at their absolute best. A player's peak can often hold more weight than longevity, but this is always the case. Accomplishments, of course we know about that. Skill set, era. Oh good, the pyramid, 30 players across 5 tiers.
So if I add any players, I unfortunately have to take players off as well. And just like with my original GOAT pyramid, there are a few factors I'm going to be considering throughout this process. A player's peak, which I value more than longevity, their accomplishments,
just played the video. I forgot he was going to probably read it.
And even the era that they played in. And of course, just like with my original GOAT pyramid, these selections are all based on my personal opinion. So with that out of the way, let's make some changes to this pyramid. So first things first, I have to make one massive adjustment to the top of this pyramid. Some may agree with it, some may not. But after winning his 4th championship and 4th finals MVP while climbing every all-time leaderboard over the last 4 seasons, LeBron James has earned a spot in tier 1. Because at this point, the all-time discussion has virtually become Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and then everyone else. I still have MJ as the GOAT, but the gap between MJ and LeBron feels smaller than the gap between LeBron and whoever comes next. So I feel this change was necessary and well earned. But that leaves us with 3 players on tier 2. And that just looks weird. So when considering peaks and accolades and impact on the game and every other factor I can conjure up, I've decided to move Bill Russell and Larry Bird up to tier 2. In our original pyramid, I had Magic on tier 2 and Bird on tier 3. But with LeBron moving up, this gives room for Bird and Magic to be on the same tier, as they should be. And Bill Russell, 11 rings, greatest defensive player of all time, there's not much to be said here. Now there's 2 players in particular who have solidified their legacies over the last 4 seasons and have earned spots on tier 3 with Shaq, Hakeem, Duncan, and Wilt. Those players are, of course, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Since 2019, Steph has proven without a shadow of a doubt that he's the greatest shooter of all time. And after winning his 4th championship and 1st finals MVP last season, he's made the jump into tier 3. Steph's brilliance and consistency season after season has extended his prime past where I think most fans would have ever considered. Now in his 13th season, at 34 years old, he's not only one of the best players in the league, he's putting together arguably the best season of his historic career. And the same could be said for Kevin Durant. He's got all the hardware, a league MVP, 2 championships, and 2 finals MVPs. But what has bumped Durant from tier 4 into tier 3 is his relentless consistency as a generational talent. Since 2019, he's made 2 more All-NBA teams, while averaging 29, 7, and 6. And this has earned him the jump from tier 4 to tier 3. And that brings us to Tier 4, which has some pretty major changes to it. And our first change
Oscar
comes
Robertson,
with John
John
Stockton, who
Stockton.
gets demoted into Tier 5, which puts him at about the 5th or 6th greatest point guard of all time, behind Magic, Steph, Oscar, and Isaiah. Scottie Pippen also got demoted to Tier 5. I made this decision because despite Scottie's critical role throughout the Bulls dynasty, his talents as an individual player just don't warrant him a spot amongst players like Oscar Robertson, Karl Malone, and Julius Erving. And unfortunately, Dwayne Wade and Isaiah Thomas get demoted into Tier 5 as well.
So who is he promoting?
But being in Tier 4 means a player is, at worst, a top 21 player of all time. And I just don't consider Wade or Isaiah to be of that caliber. But I would consider them both to be top 30 players of all time, with similar relatively short but brilliant peaks and playoff heroics throughout their careers. And with these changes, Tier 4 becomes a barren wasteland with only 3 players. So we've got some promoting to do. Starting with Jerry West, 12 All-NBA teams, Finals MVP, and 5 All-Defensive Team selections with career averages of 27, 6, and 5 a game. The only other players in NBA history to achieve these career averages are LeBron James and Kevin Durant. So the logo gets the bump into Tier 4. My next promotion goes to Moses Malone. 3-time league MVP, a finals MVP, and one of the greatest rebounders the game has ever seen. Honestly, he should have never been in Tier 5 to begin with, so let's put him where he truly belongs. And my last pair of promotions goes to Dirk Nowitzki and Kevin Garnett. The individual dominance of both KG and Dirk that spanned over 2 decades is matched by only a handful of all-time greats. But if not their sustained excellence over the course of 21 seasons, it was their massive peaks that earned them a spot in Tier 4. 2 of the most skilled, versatile, and imposing big men the game has ever seen. Which leaves us with Tier 5 and some tough decisions to make. There are only 2 players that made my original GOAT pyramid that did not make the cut in my new pyramid. And those players are Bob Pettit and Allen Iverson. But with all these adjustments, there are now 2 spots open for 2 new players. Of all the players who missed the cut the first time around, the players who I considered for my new pyramid.
Hold on, before he do it, I'm gonna see if I can guess who I think he gonna add. Okay, if we put in all the factors, he said he added 2 people. The only 2 people I would think that he's going to add would be Kawhi and Giannis. Let me think though. Let me think. He can't add Luka. Luka too young. Luka too young still. That's got to be it. That's really the only 2 people. The only 2 people that I can think of that he could probably add. Kawhi and Giannis. It got to be Kawhi and Giannis. It's Kawhi and Giannis. I'm going.
We're Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, James Harden, Chris Paul, and Kawhi Leonard. Of all
I forgot about Chris. Nikola Jokic though. I don't know. I mean. But he said he hadn't 2. I'm gonna be honest. Out of all these, well, I can't say that because I can't really say rings come into factor because dang, John Stockton ain't got no ring. Charles Barkley ain't got no ring. Chris Paul ain't got no ring. James Harden ain't got no ring. Nikola Jokic ain't got no ring. So it's, I mean, I'm not putting rings into because he said peak accomplishment. I don't forgot the era, peak accomplishment era, and I don't forgot the fourth one. But it gotta be Kawhi and Giannis. Unless you could put in Chris Paul, but no, you can't. Not really. I ain't gonna lie. You can't. I mean, you can't really. I mean, I mess with, but you can't. I don't know if you can take John Stockton out and put in Chris Paul. I think he gonna take out. This is what I think he gonna do. Well, no, he said he finna add 2 more, so he already took 2 out. He gonna. So I think all these people staying in. So he gonna add Kawhi to Tier 4. No. Yes. Nah. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's gonna add Kawhi and Giannis both to tier 5. Or he might add Kawhi to tier 4 and throw Giannis in tier 5. I don't know. Let me just watch the video.
Active players in the NBA, aside from LeBron, Steph, and Durant, these are the only players who even have a shot at making the pyramid. And since my original pyramid 3.5 years ago, Nikola Jokic has made 4 All-NBA teams, 3 of them being first-team selections. He's won back-to-back MVPs, he's led the Nuggets to the conference finals, and he's put up 2 of the most historically efficient and productive seasons in league history. It's only a matter of time before Jokic joins the GOAT pyramid. But at the moment, it's just a bit too soon. Now for the case of James Harden, I had to sit and really think about his potential addition to the pyramid. Harden had one of the highest offensive peaks in league history, averaging 31, 8, and 6 a game over the course of 6 seasons. He's won an MVP, he's made 7 All-NBA teams, and he's just one of 7 players in NBA history to win a scoring title and an assist title. But where James Harden falls short compared to other players on the pyramid is his performance in the playoffs. He just hasn't broke through on the biggest stage, and the heliocentric offense that allowed him to put up such unbelievable stat lines became a weak point to his teams in the postseason. So for now, James Harden does not crack the GOAT pyramid. The next player I considered was Chris Paul, one of the most complete point guards in recent years. And despite his lack of playoff success, he has managed to completely transform every team he's been a part of. CP3 is a tricky one because, as I touched on before, if you compare Chris Paul to John Stockton, who is in tier 5 on my pyramid, their careers are almost identical. And after CP3's first trip to the finals last season, their overall numbers and accomplishments only become more and more similar with time. Chris Paul had a higher peak, but Stockton's record-breaking ability to generate offense for nearly 2 decades, while being a lockdown perimeter defender, gives him a razor-thin edge over CP3 in my opinion. So for now, Chris Paul doesn't quite crack tier 5, which leaves us with the 2 new additions to my GOAT pyramid, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kawhi Leonard. Now, since my original pyramid, which was released just before the end of the 2019 season, Giannis has went from a great, young, ascending player to a certified all-time great. In just 3.5 years, Giannis won a championship, 2 MVPs, a Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, 4 All-NBA First Teams, 4 All-Defensive First Teams, and an All-Star Game MVP, while averaging 30 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. That's a pretty solid 3.5-year stretch for the big man. So I had to add Giannis to the pyramid, and I'm going to put him comfortably in tier 4. And with our second and final addition, Kawhi Leonard is added to tier 5. My original pyramid was created 3 weeks before Kawhi won his second championship and second finals MVP, which led to his greatness stock skyrocketing. Now, Kawhi is a tough player to rank among any all-time scenario because when he's playing, he's one of the greatest players to ever lace up. But over the last few seasons, he just hasn't laced up a whole lot. But it's impossible to look past his 2 finals MVPs and his run as the best two-way player in the NBA. So Kawhi gets added to the pyramid, but just barely, sneaking into tier 5. And there it is, my updated NBA GOAT pyramid. And I want to point out a few interesting things that I noticed throughout the process of making this. If we break down the pyramid by position, there are 6 point guards, 3 shooting guards, 8 small forwards, 6 power forwards, and 7 centers featured on the pyramid. I initially thought centers would have the largest presence here, with big men running the league for nearly 6 decades, but turns out a well-rounded, versatile wing has been the ideal archetype for a potential NBA great. If we break the GOAT pyramid down by the decade that each player was drafted in, then we'll find that among all players who made it onto the pyramid, 4 of them were drafted in the 50s, 3 were drafted in the 60s, 2 were drafted in the 70s, a whopping 10 players were drafted in the 80s, 5 in the 90s, 4 in the 2000s, and 2 in the 2010s. And since most players peak in the decade after they were drafted, it could be said that the 90s were the best era for NBA basketball, or at least the era that featured the most all-time great talent. Giannis is the youngest player featured on this pyramid at just 28 years old, completely bypassing tier 5 altogether and landing on tier 4 after just 9 seasons in the NBA. This puts Giannis somewhere between the 15th and 20th best player all time. Giannis's ascent amongst the greatest players of all time was pretty quick, but we've seen a rapid climb to basketball royalty like this before. Back in 1996, the NBA announced the 50 greatest NBA players to commemorate the league's 50th anniversary. And despite some backlash on the selection, a 24-year-old Shaquille O'Neal was selected as a top 50 player all time after just 4 seasons in the NBA. The second youngest player that was selected for that exclusive Greatest 50 club was Scottie Pippen, who was 31. Back in 2009, sports writer and analyst Bill Simmons released his original basketball pyramid that featured 96 players. At the time, LeBron James was just 24 years old in his 6th NBA season. He hadn't won a league MVP yet, he had only made 1 trip to the finals at that point, and he just hit his peak. But a young LeBron not only made Bill's GOAT basketball pyramid, he was already so transcendently good that Simmons selected him as the 20th greatest player in NBA history. And after the last half-decade Giannis has put together, he has slingshotted himself onto the same trajectory. Now I have to mention the handful of players that just narrowly missed the cut. Those players were Steve Nash, Patrick Ewing, Allen Iverson, Jason Kidd, Bob Pettit, Bob Cousy, James Harden, Chris Paul, Nikola Jokic, and George Mikan. All great players, but when the spots are limited to just 30, the criteria to make the GOAT pyramid is a hefty one. I imagine if we redo this pyramid again in 5 years, we'll see Jokic on here, we might see Luka Doncic on here, or possibly James Harden
gonna make it regardless.
and Chris Paul.
I know Luka's
for
gonna
now,
make it.
This is my new, and I think improved, NBA GOAT pyramid. Let me know what you think. Which players are too low? Which players are too high? Who was left out that you think should have made the cut? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, until next time.
I ain't gonna count. Amazing video, Jimmy. Amazing video as always. I ain't gonna lie. It might be the best one. Of course, everybody gonna have their biases because everybody's certain player. They're probably gonna be like, well, I don't think LeBron should be in tier 1. He's not up there with Jordan. Of course, I don't agree on that. Of course, I still think Jordan to go, but I'm just saying we don't need to just act like LeBron not up there with him because everybody already know. Really, it's really only 2 arguments to be made. Really, only 3 sometimes, depending on if you want to count Kareem, if you want to throw him in there sometimes. But most likely, it's either Michael Jordan your GOAT or LeBron your GOAT. One of the 2. Top 5. LeBron and Jordan is everybody top 5. If either one of them not in your top 5, you're hating. You're just hating. It don't even matter if you're not hating. You are hating. You hating by default. Because if LeBron or Jordan is not in your top 5, you're hating. It don't even matter. You're hating. Now I understand probably not top 2, but not top 5 for both of them. You hating. And you didn't even know other way to say it. You just hating on both really. Depending on who not in your top 5. If Jordan not in your top 5, you just crazy. If LeBron not in your top 5, again, you just crazy. If both of them not in your top 5, you don't even need to talk about basketball anymore. Because obviously you don't watch it. But I'm just saying, man. Then in tier 2, that's solid right there. That's solid right there. Bill Russell, another person who people think the GOAT is. 11 championships. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, another person who people think the GOAT is. Had that, hey, they try to ban them. They try to ban dunks. All good. I'm going to hit them with that. I'm going to hit them with that hook. Most unstoppable move in the league. Can nobody stop it? Kobe. We already know. Come on now. Now, of course, some people don't have Kobe. Some people don't even have Kobe top 5. Which is, it's debatable. I'm a Laker fan, so I might be a little biased. But I'm not really biased because I got him probably 5. He could move down to 6, but I got him at 5. But, you know what I'm saying? Larry Bird, come on now. It's Larry. Larry the legend. We already know what Larry can do. We already know what Larry done. Magic Johnson, come on now. We talking about the number 1 point guard in NBA history. Best point guard all time. Steph coming for that, but still, as of right now, he's still the top. He's still the number 1 point guard all time in history. Now, will Steph ever come up to that? We never know, because we might see one day Magic might go down to tier 3 and Steph might move up to that tier 2 spot. But hey, that's for another conversation for another day. But anyways, man, I appreciate he did Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant my favorite player, but I ain't got no bias on him. But I still appreciate the fact that he ain't disrespect KD. Cause whether y'all like it or not, man, whether y'all like this or not, man, them 2 championships count. Yeah, I know people don't like the way he got them. So what? It don't matter. Just like that bubble championship, the bubble championship. That argument is still dumb to me, bro. Because y'all call it a bubble championship, which means your team. This is what I don't get about that bubble championship. Everybody say, I already know it's just because LeBron and the Lakers won it. Because I guarantee if the Heat would have beat LeBron, y'all would hang that over his head forever. I guarantee y'all wouldn't call him the bubble championship then. But anyway, like I'm saying, I think people just call it the bubble championship, but then at the same time, that really don't make your argument good because you saying, bro, it was the bubble. It wasn't that hard. So let me get this. If it wasn't that hard to win, why didn't your team win? I don't get y'all disrespecting your team and your favorite players by saying it didn't count. It counted them NBA history books. That count. AD a champion, LeBron four MVP, four Finals MVPs, 4 championships. That count. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. You got to think about it. Y'all can't be saying it's a loophole, but then at the same time, you disrespecting your whole team by saying it wasn't like that. Then another argument. Oh, everybody was healthy. Of course, they should have won. Everybody was on the same playing field. To be real, the only people who had home court was the Magic, and they didn't even get past the first round. I don't think. Actually, they didn't even get past the first round. But it was the Magic. They really the only person that had home court. It was on Disney World. Then, don't even get me started on how, like, come on, bro. Come on now. Just, I don't know, man. It's just crazy how people said it was a bubble championship. But it was a bubble championship. How come your team couldn't win the bubble championship? The Mickey Mouse ring. I guarantee you a lot of other NBA players would have took that Mickey Mouse ring. I guarantee you that. But hey, man, I'm done ranting, man. Great video by JxmyHighroller. As always, make sure you go subscribe to him. And hey, man, you already know what it is, man. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe.